This is Orlando Sentinel Now.
Hello and welcome. It's Friday, it's August 20th, and this is Orlando Sentinel Now. Today, we're talking about how half of AdventHealth's COVID-19 patients are under the age of 40, a possible expansion coming to UCF's football stadium, and a behind-the-scenes look coming to you from a Disney cruise line. I'm your host, Joe Mario Pedersen, and joining me today, I have health reporter Caroline Catherman, college football reporter Matt Murschel, and joining us on the phone, we have senior content editor Richard Tribou. Thank you all so much for being here today. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Caroline, coming to you first here for one of your recent headlines. Half of AdventHealth's 1,620 COVID-19 patients are under the age of 40. Now, Caroline, getting a little bit more specific with this, what kind of age demographics are we seeing from there?
We're seeing more and more young people getting sick. And when I say young people, I don't just mean under the age of 40. I mean like children. Last week, there were 30 kids hospitalized throughout AdventHealth and Orlando Health and Nemours Children's Hospital. This week, there's 38, so it's gone up by 8. Doctors are saying that in the past, they saw an average age of about 60, and then they watched it drop to about 50. And now, in this current wave with the Delta variant, we're seeing the age go to 40. So there's a broad variety of ages, and it's really scary.
Absolutely. As far as these patients go, are they largely unvaccinated cases?
Yes, over 90% are unvaccinated, and this is why doctors and public health officials are saying that vaccinations are really the key in preventing these hospitalizations, and these hospitalizations are preventable.
When you say that, there was a section of your reporting that was focused on this entirely. What are experts saying about preventing a worsening surge from this?
They're saying mask up, they're saying get vaccinated if you're eligible, social distance to whatever extent is possible. They're saying that yes, this surge is worse because of the Delta variant, which is more contagious, but also we stopped the protocols we were under when we were in a much more serious lockdown. So that's also contributing.
Absolutely. One last question for you here, Caroline, and that being, as far as a peak to the current wave that we're in, are we approaching it? Are we still a distance from it? What are experts saying about that?
This wave is different from last waves. It is a bit unpredictable. However, there are a few models. I know the CDC and the University of Washington model are predicting that we are going to see a peak soon, but all of that is going to be contingent on whether people wear masks, people get vaccinated, because if people aren't vaccinated, there is the ability, we're going to see more waves and we might get mutations.
More details on this on the report online. Be sure to take a look at Caroline's work there at orlandosentinel.com. Caroline, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next story here. Matt, I want to come to you for a proposal that was put on the table for a possible expansion to the UCF football stadium. Now, before we get into the details of what that expansion might include, where does this proposal come from?
Well, new UCF athletic director Terry Mohajir, when he arrived back in February, he talked about having this vision for the athletics department, and he wanted to give a kind of an early look at that vision yesterday in front of the board of trustees meeting, and he presented this kind of proposal of how he believes they could make some changes to some of the facilities around there, and one of those was building. He called it a football campus. He called it's the only one he said in college football and college athletics actually across the country. And part of that includes, renovating the stadium a little bit, putting on a new, what they call a launch club, which would house the football coaches' offices. It would also have, a place for dining, to host wedding receptions, things like that. They talked about adding standing room only seating to the stadium as well. They talked about moving one of the, football practice fields over and turning this area where they put McNamara Cove, which is where they talked about that lazy river we've talked about for many, many years now, where they want to cover, they would call it the Recovery Cove. They want to put that there and have a tailgating area. And so it's a sweeping kind of overhaul of the Kenneth G. Dixon Athletics Village, which he believes will kind of help them kind of continue to climb the ranks and being one of the top premier college athletics programs in the country.
So, Matt, when looking at a project like this, do we have any idea as far as what a price tag might look like?
Well, the thing about this is just very early on, and this is kind of Terry's, like I said, vision. So, the idea is what the number that he threw out was about $50 million, but he
Mm.
warned the board of trustees members that, listen, we haven't even sat down and hired, architecture firms. We haven't done, all the kind of the legwork that needs to be done. So that number could kind of change, but the idea is this is kind of a much, a small part of a much bigger project. But that's the number that he kind of threw out there, and he feels like this is what it'll take to kind of help keep UCF at that elite level, which they're hoping to do over the next couple of years.
I'm wondering, did he say why he thinks that this expansion might be necessary for the growth of the football program?
When you look at what UCF has done over the last five to 10 years, they've found a way to to really kind of put themselves out there in the national scope of things. The brand of UCF has really increased over the last decade, and he feels like especially the football program right now, they're on an upswing. Over what happened with the back-to-back New Year's Six bowl appearances in 2017, 2018, the hiring of Gus Malzahn, has drawn a lot of attention. They're doing again, doing a great job, when it comes to fundraising for the program. They feel like this is the right time. They feel like they're right on that scope. So he thinks this is another step and to kind of get the athletic department to kind of keep track with everybody. We're talking about conference realignment the last couple of weeks, with Texas and Oklahoma going to SEC. He's saying, listen, we got to do these sort of things in a way to kind of keep up that higher level. And we feel like we can contend with a lot of these programs. So to do that, we have to make these kind of moves.
If you all are interested in finding out more about those moves, be sure to take a look at Matt's work available right now at OrlandoSentinel.com. Matt, thanks a lot. All right, Richard, I want to come over to you now. Richard, you got a behind-the-scenes look at the Disney Wish, Disney Cruise Line experience with a lot to offer. Can you tell us a little bit about what you saw?
Yeah, sure. Now, the ship itself is still under construction over in Germany, but over here in Orlando on Disney property and off Disney property in secret locations, they're in trailers and warehouses, just going to town on a lot of these spaces that they'd already announced, but getting a real look at them was really eye-opening. I got to see a Star Wars space, a Marvel restaurant space, this water coaster dark ride that's coming, and also a demonstration of a new app-based game that you're going to be able to play on board the ship. It was really, really kind of very cool, to be honest.
Yeah, I've seen some of the pictures, and those watching right now have definitely seen them too as we speak here. If you're listening, be sure to take a look at some of the images online. But Richard, for those who would be listening to this, can you tell us a little bit about the Star Wars or the Marvel experiences as far as like what you got to see in those?
Yeah, I have to tell you, the Star Wars space, as a Star Wars fan, I'm geeking out over this thing. I mean, when you are on board the ship, the idea is that you're going to be on a Disney ship and then go into this space and you'll be transported. There's going to be a door, and I still have yet to figure out how to spell whoosh. Working on that. But that's going to happen, and you're going to go into this space, and this screen has all of these ships and a variety of planets from the Star Wars universe, and you're going to actually, it's so weird because you'll be looking at the screen and you'll go into hyperspace, right? But it's a side view. You don't do that in the movies. It's always straight ahead view, and so it's a little jarring. You're like, okay, the stars are moving, and then you move on to the next space, and there are so many ships that true fans are really going to recognize, and just hyper fans are going to be like, oh my god, I can't believe they put that thing in there. They said that, yeah, if Lucasfilm ever made a toy for a ship, it's in our presentation, and that's probably the big thing. But they're gonna, the bar space has all these. It's got a hologram that shows some of the ships that are on screen, so you have kind of a 3D rendition right there in front of you, and there's going to be little animals in jars, and it's supposed to be a high-end bar. I think the adults are going to really love this. Adults don't really have a Star Wars space on the previous ships. It's always been geared to kids, and adults would always go to them. Hey, I introduced this show to my kids. Why don't I get a space? Why can't I go play? And they're like, okay, well, we got you. So the Star Wars space is really cool. And I got to tell you, the Marvel space also, which is going to be, it's a dinner experience, and they call it Starkitecture. Like that's the design here, like it's Tony Stark. And so it's very cool. There's going to be just hundreds of video screens showing all the technology from all of the Marvel films from Phase 1. It's going to center around an Ant-Man shrinking and growing technology, PIM technology thing, where it'll play out as a dinner theater. There'll be stages. You'll be able to eat. It won't be interrupted, but you as the diner will be able to shrink and grow things using this quantum core technology thing that's going to be at your table. So everybody gets to put their fingers in and grow things and shrink things. And I'll go ahead and say that the big bad in this is Ultron, and the voice actor they got is sounds exactly like Ultron from the movies. So I was just, he's got that sort of James Spader-esque take on it, but I was very entertained.
It sounds awesome, like a truly immersive experience. If you're all interested in finding out more and taking a look at more images, be sure to take a look at Richard's story available at OrlandoSentinel.com, where, of course, you can catch up with the other stories that we've talked about on here, as well as other stories happening in and around the community. For those of you who are subscribers to the Orlando Sentinel, thank you so much for supporting our work and supporting local journalism. If you want to become a supporter, it's easy to do so. All you need to do is visit OrlandoSentinel.com/subscribe. But as for OSN, that will do it for us today and this week. But a big thank you to Caroline, Matt, and Richard for keeping us filled in what's going on in our community. We'll be back again next week. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Watch Orlando's Sentinel Now live every weekday at noon on our Facebook page and on OrlandoSentinel.com.